experienced over the last few weeks, and we're doing everything we can to actually correct matters.
Is it worthwhile for us to look at the TransLink website when things are so fluid? In other words, things change so quickly, so rapidly. Is it even useful to look at the TransLink website?
Oh, I think so. Bear in mind, when I came across here in 2012, I came across as the CEO of TransLink. The TransLink website should be the single source of truth, so we'll make sure that everything goes up on there as soon as we possibly can. Now, when I was interviewed by Channel 9 and 7 in the Courier Mail on Sunday, I went down to Inver Police Station. I used the TransLink website to actually work out which train it was to get into Central Station, so I've used it myself. So if our customers could use that website as the single source of truth, there's always the free TransLink call centre, 13 12 30 as well, which is up 24/7, 365 days.
So the TransLink website, you want it to be the, quote, single source of truth?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Queensland Rail have a mobile phone app, universally derided if you look at their webpage. Should it be ignored?
No, I don't think you should ignore that, but what I'm saying is that we'll make sure that the TransLink website has got all the current information on.
So the QR one is not particularly helpful?
The QR one is helpful if you're on a particular line at a particular time, and you can use that app if you're comfortable with it. There's also a TransLink app, My TransLink, which you can download, which has got bus, rail, ferry and tram on it. And the other thing is...
your point is the TransLink one is the go-to one. Ignore the others. The TransLink one is the
Oh, yeah, because while we stabilise the timetable, that's where I'm going to put all my efforts to make sure that the information is there.
How long will it take you to stabilise the train timetable?
That's a very good question. Bear in mind this is day 4, day 6 if you include the weekend. But I can't really give you a time scale on that, because then I'll be, I could get it wrong. I need to make sure that I've got all the facts and I'm absolutely right. But I'm working really closely with the unions, our stakeholders, the staff, my Minister Hinchliffe, just make sure that we get the information out to our customers.
What instructions have you been given by Minister Hinchliffe?
Well, it's the 5-point plan. So basically, to initiate the recruitment of an additional 100 drivers, complete the recruitment and training of 100 additional drivers and 100 additional guards, deliver the interim timetable to minimise the disruption to the travelling public, maintain the supply of trained drivers to ensure guards are stationed and trained on the next generation rolling stock, and provide a pipeline of future drivers with route knowledge as you say, and work with the employees to develop more flexible working arrangements, including part-time arrangements, the longevity of the existing workforce, and create driver roster flexibility. So what I've just read out there, Steve, is the 5-point plan that I've got to deliver.
Was it your plan or Sterling Hinchliffe's plan?
It's the Minister's plan, yeah.
Okay, and he said, here, fix this.
No, it's I put my hand up for this. I'm quite excited about the opportunity. It's going to be a difficult time, I think, but I'm very happy to be here.
Have you ever seen a rail schmozzle like this before in your career?
I don't think it's a schmozzle, because if you say before we actually implemented the timetable, we're operating 1,218 trains a day, and we're doing more than that now. So I don't think it's just a schmozzle. I think what we need to do...
What would you call it then? A cluster? What would you call it?
I don't think it's our finest hour, but we are working really hard to fix it.
Why are you the most qualified person to fix it? 3 senior executives from Queensland Rail have either been given the boot. Why are you the one that is able to fix it?
Well, as DG of Transport and Main Roads, and the TransLink division as part of that holds the contract for bus, rail, ferry and the tram operation. So that's one point. The second point is that I've got 40 odd years worth of experience in transport engineering, and I put my hand up because in government what we really need is somebody to actually fix the problem. If you bring somebody in from outside, they could fix the problem as well, I'm sure, but it would probably take longer for them to get up to speed. So I hit the ground running rather than just hit the ground.
All right. Since this became knowledge, Thursday, fortnight ago, when the Minister tells me that he knew about this, did he raise this with you prior to that at any stage, the issue of drivers, or whether we had enough of them?
No, because at that point...
He never raised it?
Well, no, because at that point I was DG Transport and Main Roads. So I was, we have a complete sort of organisation called Queensland Rail to do all of that.
Okay, and you never had any inkling of this yourself when you were DG of Transport and Main Roads?
No.
Director General?
No.
the Director General of Transport and Main Roads, with all these reports floating around, the unions were telling everyone behind the scenes, apparently. They're now saying they warned everyone months ago. And none of that rumour, gossip, innuendo, or the consultants' reports made its way to the Minister or to the Director General.
Definitely not. But bear in mind at that time, which is before the timetable change on the 4th of October, we were consistently, or QR was consistently operating at above 96%, which is probably the best operating railway in Australia. So if you look at all the evidence...
With one of the smallest rail networks in Australia.
Yeah, but it's still intense. You've still got 142 stations. You've still got 170,000 people a day using it. It's still an extensive railway. It's much bigger than the one I was operating in Merseyside, which had 66 stations, 66 miles of track.
The first of the major delays across the train network occurred a fortnight ago. Why was it so difficult for us to find out the reason for the delays? Why didn't you do more to get word out a fortnight ago? We had to prise it out of poor old Simon Cook from TransLink, who originally no one would say anything, and when we got someone from TransLink, all they would say was that a significant operational issue, and after 5 minutes of begging to say, what does that mean? Well, we don't have enough train drivers.
Well, I have to apologise for that, but again...
I'm not blaming Simon Cook.
No, it's fine.
My sympathies are with QR staff and TransLink.
Yep.
But the buck stops with the management.
It does, and it stops with me at the moment. But the bottom line is, 2 weeks ago, I was in a different role. Now I'm in this role.
But why was it so hard to get the information out in the first place?
I don't know, Steve.
Is there a cultural communication problem in QR?
I don't think so. And, you're seeing the acting CEO in front of you now. I got the call at 10 to 7 when I was on the train, and I'm here at 8:30, and I'll be available as much as you want me to. But it's all about getting the information out now.
You saw yesterday's story in the Courier Mail about the consultants' report that was done in February.
Indeed.
Who requested that consultants' report? Who commissioned it?
It was commissioned internally as an operational report. And,
by whom?
By one of the senior staff. I don't want to name names because I think that would be unfair. But the Minister only got that report on Monday night, and Tuesday he did a full disclosure in Parliament.
The Minister was advised about it by a public transport lobbyist the next month, external of the organisation. The Courier Mail's right. Everyone except management and the Minister seem to have known about it. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, and it could well be, but at the end of the day, 4 days into the job, we've got the report. I'm reading it with great interest and find out exactly what has been implemented in that report and what hasn't. And the Minister's given me a direction to do that, and that's what I'm doing now.
We've been contacted, and so have other media organisations, about people wanting from New Zealand, from here in Australia, and apparently there are train drivers at Aurizon, the commercial freight arm that could come across. Why aren't they being hired now, if they're suitably qualified?
Well, even if they're suitably qualified and we bring them into the system, it could take months to train them on our safety systems, and you can't rush safety. A lot
of those Aurizon guys actually came from QR and went over to Aurizon. They could just come back again.
Not unless they're accredited. They need to be accredited on the passenger rail because they'll be freight. And by the time they've done all the route knowledge and gone through all the systems, it still could be months before that happens. But that's something that we're actively pursuing now.
All right. When you say actively pursuing, you mean you've rung up Aurizon or you've put ads in the papers and saying train drivers wanted, apply now?
No, we'll do that next week.
So you still haven't done that?
No, because what we're doing, exhausting the internal process first, Steve.
So the unions get first dibs?
No, it's not the unions, it's the staff. And basically, I've had really good conversations with the unions Monday and Tuesday, and we are working together to make sure we stabilise the network.
The unions have been telling everyone that they've known about this for months. Who did they tell?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Well, they've been quite public saying, we've known about this, we've been warning about it ever since the previous government, and they hired you. Who did they tell?
I've no idea. So you'd have to ask them, Steve. As far as I'm concerned, I've got a really solid and good, productive working relationship with the trade unions, and I'll continue to do that. So in the job on Friday, so I did some media on Sunday. I met the unions on Monday, and I met them again yesterday.
Is your position on the chopping block? Is your head on the chopping block?
Oh, I think I'm responsible going forward, but I don't think it's a chopping block as such.
I'll come back to you. My guest is Neil Scales. He came in by train this morning. He's the acting CEO of Queensland Rail.
612 ABC Brisbane traffic.
Well, through South Brisbane, there's been a crash on Stevens Road outside St Lawrence's College. Old Cleveland Road remains blocked in both directions at Finucane Road in Capalaba following this fatal truck and car crash. We're seeing big delays around the area on Finucane Road westbound back to Alexandra Hills. Windermere Road southbound is also heavy. Redland Bay Road, we're seeing delays from Nay Road to Moreton Bay Road, and delays also westbound on Quarry Road from Birkdale to Wakeley. Heavy going on the Pacific Motorway inbound from Upper Mount Gravatt to Wollongabba following an earlier crash. South Pine Road inbound is now easing through Everton Park and Enoggera. Ipswich Motorway eastbound delays from Darra to Oxley. Centenary Highway inbound from Mount Ommaney to Jindalee. The M1 northbound, Tanamera to Slacks Creek. Bruce Highway southbound from Dolly Rocks Road to the Gateway Motorway exit. And delays on the Gateway Motorway southbound from Deagon to Boondall. And that's the latest traffic. Up to date, it's Olympia on 612 ABC Brisbane.
Olympia, thank you very much. Later on today, new music from an album not yet released by Brisbane group Shepherd. Not due for release till next year, but you'll hear it later on this morning. What have the band been doing? They've been working hard. Brisbane band that's really capturing the attention of many. You'll hear them later on this morning here on 612 ABC Brisbane. My guest is the acting CEO of Queensland Rail, Neil Scales. Neil Scales, you were hired by the previous government to run TransLink. TransLink are the overarching body that are looking after the next generation of new trains. Did you or were you aware of the problems in the design of the new trains as the Minister spoke about yesterday in State Parliament?
On the new generation rolling stock,
Yes.
I actually met with the trade unions last year as their cab committee and sorted out a lot of the design issues, because with any new
So
sets
you were aware?
Oh yeah, I fixed them. Yeah, and the bottom line is that we were aware of all these issues on a cab mock-up. We got an independent ergonomist to have a look at the cab, and they made 5 recommendations. Those recommendations have been implemented.
So why did the Minister raise this as one of the problems affecting the QR issue at the moment in Parliament yesterday? Is it irrelevant?
No, it's not irrelevant, because we've still got to make sure we've got the right amount of driving staff to actually drive these vehicles when they arrive.
So
And-
you knew about the design problem in the trains, and you were working on it anyhow to fix it up.
The design problems aren't really problems, because with any new cab, and bear in mind these are brand new vehicles compared to the ones that we've got, brand new trains to the ones we've got. We have a cab committee with the trade unions. We have various mock-ups, and we get them involved to make sure that the position of certain equipment is in the right place at the right time. There was an issue which has been reported about sight lines. The sight lines are different because the front nose of the trains is longer than the existing trains. And all that means is that when we're doing the route training with our drivers, just make sure that the marker boards, which is the marker boards where the train stops in the station, at the right place.
Is that a problem or not? Because the Minister raised this in Parliament yesterday as being one of the problem issues facing Queensland Rail, that he blamed the previous government for it.
I'm not going to go where the Minister's gone, but all I can say is that as far as the new generation rolling stock trains are concerned, all the issues in the cabs have been ironed out. We're currently dynamically testing one of the units on the track, which means that you drive it up and down the track as fast as you can, make sure it stops all right, and make sure everything
Does it?
shakes down. Yes, it does.
I'm told that the train's too light. Is that right?
No, not at all.
I'm told that you've got 5 test trains, but only one of them is working on the tracks at the moment. Is that right?
We got 5 trains delivered. We dismantled the first one in Wulkuraka, which is what we intended to do all the time, to make sure it all works. And because the trains are manufactured and then delivered, once you actually get them on our particular track, we've got different track geometry, we've got different stations, different inclines, so you've got to test it dynamically. And that starts again today. So this is just a normal process, Steve.
So this is all normal.
This is a normal process. And in a previous life, I used to be a manufacturer. This is a normal process.
All right. So when the trains were ordered, did we order the right trains?
Yes, we did.
You have no doubt about that.
No doubt about it at all.
That is in clear contradiction to the impression that the Minister left State Parliament yesterday.
Well, as far as the specification of the trains, that was done before I arrived. As far as I'm concerned, I'll make these trains work for the people of Queensland.
But all along, you've been working with the unions to ensure that the cab design, the function and the operability suits the drivers, the system, the network and the technology.
And the customers.
And the customers.
Yeah, bear in mind that these have got, really good cabins inside.
That's very interesting to hear. The LNP government is said to have got rid of trainer drivers when they were in power, when you were heading TransLink. 17 drivers were apparently put off. Has that caused this problem?
As far as the previous government's concerned and previous actions, I was in Transport and Main Roads at that time, so can't really comment on that.
You were hired to run TransLink though, weren't you?
Yeah, but TransLink in July 2012 was folded into the department. We were a separate statutory body in March when I came out here, and that was under the Labour government at the time. When the LNP took over, the folded TransLink as a separate statutory body into the department, and we became a division of Transport and Main Roads.
Well, the Rail, Tram and Bus Union have claimed that the previous LNP government instructed that train made redundant. If this was so, it would be in the Government Gazette. Is it? The State Government Gazette. Is it there? Was it a ministerial direction that trainer drivers be removed or made redundant?
I can't comment on that, Steve, because as I say, that would have been a QR issue, and that time I had enough issues on Transport and Main Roads.
All right. You've been negotiating and talking with the unions ever since last year about the design of the trains, and the unions never warned you or anyone at all about their concern about shortage of trainer drivers.
No, not at all, because we were focusing on the cab committee, and I was focusing on making sure that the driver compartment was absolutely right for our drivers.
And they never said, won't matter, mate, we haven't got enough drivers anyhow. They never even joked about it.
No, because if they had, I would have remembered.
This looks like someone's not telling the whole story, Neil Scales. Someone ain't telling the whole truth.
Well, as far as I can do, and what I'm doing now is just being as open and honest as you can. I'm giving you exact answers as I can, as I understand the position. And bear in mind that my perspective up until Friday was from a Transport and Main Roads perspective. My perspective now is very much a QR perspective, and we've got some really good people doing a really good job. And all I'm asking the customers out there to do is just bear with us while we stabilise the network.
All my listener wants is for the system to be fixed.
Absolutely.
And they want it to be fixed as soon as possible. Yet neither the Minister a couple of days ago or you have been able to tell me by what timescale it will be fixed.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm just asking for a bit of clearer while I get all the information together. And it'd be wrong for me to speculate, wouldn't it? Because I've only been in the job for 4 days, and it's not an excuse, it's a reason. I need to get amongst all the detail. I've met a lot of staff. I've been pretty high profile over the last 4 days. I just need to get sure in my own mind what the score is, and then I can give you a proper answer. Until I do that, it would be wrong to speculate. And I think the other thing is the Premier's also launched under Philip Strawn an independent review. And again, that is proceeding. Therefore, I don't want to speculate about that either, because Mr. Strawn has got his own job to do on the 5-point plan and investigate where we are. So that investigation, which I understand is a 3-month investigation, will actually produce a report that'll probably answer a lot of the questions that you're asking. So I'm not dodging the question. I'm just saying, yeah, that there is a separate line of inquiry that's independent that is underway.
And have you met with him?
I met him very briefly, and we're providing him resources. And once he comes into Q and asks for documentation or whatever he wants, he can have.
How long will Queensland Rail be running at overtime levels of around 30%?
Oh, another good question. Again, I need to have a look at the details, but the overtime levels there, obviously, as the acting CEO, I want to make sure that our staff don't get fatigued. I want to make sure our staff don't do too much. So I'm keeping a very close eye on that at the moment. So again, but I'm not avoiding the question, Steve. I'm just saying that until I get all the facts, I'm reluctant to give you an answer that might be incorrect.
Is it true that train drivers get 2 breaks between each shift they run?
It depends on what roster they're on. At the moment, they can get a 20-minute break after 2.5 hours of operation. I agreed with the union on Monday that we'd progressively take that out.
Now so it's going to be scrapped. That sounds like
yes, indeed,
a very luxurious arrangement.
I don't know if it's luxurious or not, but I've talked to the unions and we've got an agreement in principle EBA, which I'm now accelerating to get signed and sealed, and then we can move on.
Is it a gold pass for the whole of Australia after 25 years of service?
I don't know. I'll have to check. I know I've got, and that's what I'm using.
All right, so you paid your own. All right.
Yep.
Will we have enough trains and train drivers for the Commonwealth Games in 2018?
Yeah. Well, on that's something I've got a clear focus on, not just on the train side, but also on the tram, the extension of light rail to Helensville, and also to making sure that we've got enough buses. Now, if you take
So you don't know at this stage? You don't know?
No, but hang on. Basically, we haven't got the ticketing data yet, and we won't get that until April. the origins and destinations of the venues. Now, if you take the venues on the Gold Coast, the furthest ones are 43 kilometres. None of them are served by rail, so we're out to tender at the moment for